Greetings and welcome to the Modern Alchemist channel. I'm Aubrey Forrest, the Modern Alchemist, and this is Esoteric Schmackdown, World of Warcraft. That's right, folks. We're here. We finally got this series off the ground, and in our first episode, we're going to be continuing our discussion of the Electric Universe, and we'll be using the World of Warcraft as a means of illustrating both natural geology and how certain forms of architecture are designed to emulate the electric universe as presented within geological structures. So we discussed some of that geology and the principles of electric geology in the most recent episode of the map episode 14, where we looked at the electric universe, both small and large. And we're going to continue that discussion here, but we're going to be using the World of Warcraft as a tool to help us understand this. And if you want to join me, by the way, you might notice that Fohat here is sporting a beautiful gold and white tabard. And on it, of course, we've got some alchemical symbolism here. That is because Fohat is in fact the guild master of Alchemists for Azeroth, or Alchemists of Azeroth. And if you want to join the guild, all you have to do is log into the Silverhand server on the Horde side, and as a process of applying to the guild, in the notes section, let me know that you are in fact a subscriber to the Modern Alchemist channel, and that alchemy is both a language, a science, and an art. So indicate you're a subscriber, tell me that alchemy is a language, a science, and an art, and bam, you're in Alchemists of Azeroth. And if one of the things that we'll be doing is we'll get together in times like this, and instead of me just talking to the computer, I will be talking to you guys and explaining it and recording it, and then we'll save it and share it with the world. So your comments, your questions about all the stuff that we discuss, you can ask me here, and we'll talk about them then. All right? So today we are going to be going to, let's pull this out, we're going to journey to the continent of Kalimdor, and we're going down here to the Thousand Needles, which is located in between Duskwallow Marsh and the Ungoro Crater. We'll be exploring Ungoro at a later date. And you'll notice that this area is a waterway now. Now, it wasn't always a waterway. It used to actually be just desert. It was a steppe environment, and these columns are geological formations that are like mesas. They're upwellings, and at least that's the standard model of geology would describe it as such, being the result of subsurface pressures forcing that up with mechanical action. I will, as we've discussed previously, we know that these structures are in fact the result of an electromagnetic interaction with the environment, causing these structures to actually grow, to be built. And when we get there, you're going to see exactly what I mean. This area, by the way, is the result, the waterway being filled in is the result of the second cataclysm for World of Warcraft, which was caused by Deathwing. And any of you who are curious about that are welcome to check out some World of Warcraft lore. It is rich and full of lots of amazing stories. All right, so this is where we're going, which is here in Kalimdor, and so I will see you there. We're going to go to Thunderbluff, which is the capital city of the Tauren race, and from there we will fly to the Thousand Needles. All right, you guys ready? Hey, and let me know in the comments section below if you're enjoying this, because this is me sharing with you something that I really, really enjoy doing, and have a lot of fun doing, and sharing it with you, like even sharing real time. That just seems to me like that'd be really cool. Putting together a raid group, and then just kind of going through and talking about how these things are formed. For instance, this entire room, this entire cavern, is an exhibition of a double layer. Do you see it? Do you see how the vault of the ceiling here, this is the upper layer, and then I'm standing on the bottom layer, on the lower layer. And then just like in Adam's Helpmeet, if you remember towards the beginning, like around the 7-minute mark, I have a video of the spaceship that's shooting in between these columns of plasma in a plasma double layer. Well, I submit to you that these cavernous formations are not the result of mechanical volcanism, as we've been taught. These vaults, these chambers are the result of electromagnetism, sorting the material out, literally creating a space between water and water, between liquefaction of the elements and above and below. And so this is the result of electromagnetism. This is the electric universe in pure presentation. And so you can see it right here. It's great. Isn't this fun? Isn't this fun? This is fun. You know this is fun. You guys are loving it. This is awesome. All right, so let's run on out here. Really, actually, super glad I shot this video a couple times, and I was really dissatisfied with how the first stuff went. Now I know why I was dissatisfied, because I missed a beautiful opportunity here. Not only is this cavern really cool looking, but it is a wonderful presentation. And think of it in terms of the last video, the map, where I zoomed in on this tiny little cavern in the front lawn that maybe was less than a quarter inch. Well, now here we are, except for now we're inside of it. And the same principle that created that creates this. All right? All right, let's go outside. Let's check out some more stuff. Mulgore is really, really pretty, as you'll see. These are the Tauren people. Aren't they cool? Hello. Hello, Mr. Tauren. Yep. Okay. Well, not so friendly. Anyway, you'll notice Mulgore is really, really, really beautiful. The entire place, then, as you can see, is one extraordinary presentation of double layer physics, where all of this cavitation and separation is exactly the same, just on a larger scale as what you saw inside in the cavern over here. Okay, so let's mount up. All right, so off we go to 1,000 Needles. Now, you'll notice off in the distance there, the tree formations. That's Feralis. That's this beautiful area. We're going to head over into that area after we look at the 1,000 Needles, specifically because there's a really pretty temple out there that I'd like to just show you. But the impact of that temple isn't nearly as profound unless you actually have seen what I'm about to demonstrate. So in front of us, you can see that the creators of World of Warcraft have paid loving attention to detail, specifically with the formation of the geology, so that certain geologic structures demonstrate the dielectric sorting of the material, as you can see where I'm pointing here with the mouse pointer. And these formations here, again, are showing you a double layer. The atmosphere itself along the nape of the earth, right along the edge line there, that's giving you a nice clear visual of another double layer present, right? And in our world, it does exactly this. So off in the distance, there's the layer, and then here. Everything layers, everything layers. And the structure and formation of plants, exactly the same. What differentiates one plant from another, why some plants form vines and which spiral, and others form trees, it all has to do, every bit of it, with the mineral composition of the plant itself. And so literally everything, plants, animals, the rocks, we all dance to the tune of water and light. That's the stuff that makes everything else happen. All right, here we are. Look, we're coming up over the mountain here, And right off in the distance, you can see the Thousand Needles. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful area. Now, this area used to not be underwater, as I mentioned, or may have mentioned. This was the result of the second cataclysm, where Neltharion, also known as Deathwing, the great black dragon, flew through this whole area and just devastated the continent of Kalimdor and also the northern and eastern kingdoms. So here we are. Check it out. Just like that little cave that we were in at the beginning, now it's just bigger, but it's the same thing. It's always the same. And so instead of walking through the small, narrow columns, now we're walking through these large, pillarous, mesa structures that are just thrusting out. And then when you realize that these structures aren't actually pushed from the bottom up, but built from top to bottom, so that the materials are gathered and structured in such a way, because this whole area up here, this is the top part of the double layer, and then down here is the bottom. And just like what you saw in the cavern, this material builds up and it builds down. A smaller example of this is right here. Check this out. Isn't this amazing? And we're going to talk about this water spout in just a second. But look at this beautiful, beautiful example. Great illustration of electric universe physics, where at the top here we have the top of the double layer, and then under the water at the base we have the bottom, and then we have a column. Now this column has periodic bunching up, and this bunching up is literally a predictable beating pattern that you can see within the electric universe. This pattern exhibits as star systems chained together in little beads. This pattern exists, as you can see, the electrical machining of planetary surfaces like Mars, where the electrical machining, imagine this now as the surface, goes down and it creates these beads along the way. And what we're seeing is, in fact, a Z-pinch here, and then an extended column of transmission, and then another pinch down below it. And so the energy then is flowing in like this, and pinching on the Z-axis, creating this ellipse. And what's amazing is this ellipse form, what you see here cast in stone, this ellipse exists in every celestial sphere, all of them. The sun is elliptical, the earth is elliptical, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, every satellite, they're all slightly elliptical, not perfectly spherical. They expand out like a torus. And the reason for this is because everything ultimately is somewhat toroidal, meaning that you have a coaxial flow of energy flowing in this way, from the top down and from the bottom up, pinching on a z-axis here, and then that equatorially expands outward. If I were to, if this was still polarized and energized, right, with current flowing through it, you might see a disk manifest around this equatorial plane, not unlike what we have appear around Saturn, right? The rings of Saturn form exactly for the exact same principle, that this disk then becomes energized as the power from the pinch expands outward from the center. All right? Now, you notice there was also this really, really super cool, there it is, vortex. And you can see this vortex is coaxial. I mean, these guys are so brilliant in how they did this, because they make it so easy to explain this stuff. This coaxial flow, you can see there's an outer layer and an inner layer. And the outer layer is turning in one direction, and the inner layer is pulling in the other, twisting in the other, so that we have two forming, right? And then this, then, just like what you see up there, see that? There's that cone. It forms the same cone, and then at the surface of the water could be considered the pinch, the z-axis pinch, which then flows downward through the water columns, so that this energy which is flowing up here above the water is also flowing below the water into the water column, because all of this is connected. And so what you're seeing then is an electromagnetic presentation of this flow. And this then is everywhere. You can see these cyclones on the surface of the sun. You can see them as dust devils on the surface of Comet 67P, or you can see them on Mars as these mega super awesome dust devils which go up thousands of feet into the air. All of them are, again, built on the same principle. And so what we have here is water and air, illustrating for us in active form what stone over here is preserving for us in static form. Pretty cool. All right, let's fly now over to Feralis and check out this really, really beautiful temple over there, which gives a wonderful presentation of everything that I was trying to illustrate. Now, one of the things that you might notice, isn't this really beautiful? Like, look at how gorgeous. And here's another neat example, because interspersed then, each of these trees are illustrating levels within the double layer. So that because they're built, they are all drawing their power from the same thing. And so everything layers. And so the trees themselves are showing you that there's still layering going on. And here again, this great column, which is a series of layer and then conduit, pinch, more pinch and conduit, just stacking up. There's more all the way, top to bottom. All right, let's go find that temple. This is fun. You guys are having fun, right? Write in the comment section that this is fun so that we'll do it some more. If you guys aren't enjoying this, that's okay. We do all sorts of things on this channel, so there's something for everybody. Now, as we're flying through the trees, I want to point out a historical note. You might recall that there were cultures, like Druids, for instance, Druidic cultures, who, instead of building temples, had sacred groves. Now, why would one have a sacred grove instead of a temple? Why would one build it with trees instead of stone? Well, the answer is quite simple. As we're flying around through Feralis here, you can see the double layer, right? The trees themselves form the columns that you would see everywhere else. And so my flying through the trunks of these massive trees is exactly like that spaceship video, exactly like me flying through the columns elsewhere. It's always the same, and here we have it. Now we're at the temple. So there's a lot to be said for these temples, and for temples in general. Specifically that modern archaeologists, I think, are somewhat dismissive as to the actual intent and nature of why certain things were built. And I believe that that's the case because they fail to understand the electric universe was known, was understood by the ancients, that when they built their structures, they knew what they were doing. And by that I mean not simply that they understood principles of architecture, but that they understood that when you build something in a solid form, it is like staging music, because everything vibrates, everything moves, everything resonates. And so even a static structure like this temple that we're sitting here in front of, holds within it a harmony, a resonance, a tone, a vibration which is felt and is continuous. So if the ancients understood that the universe was divided, masculine and feminine, receptive, projective, and that these forces existed in everything, then if you wanted to create a temple that was an exhibition, a clear, undeniable exhibition of everything that we've seen already, from the first cavern that we were in, to the Thousand Needles, to the passage through these amazing forests and trees. Each of these are a presentation of what this temple is, which is the electric universe, as seen in a double layer, with plasma conduits joining the masculine and feminine in permanent union, right? And that's it. That's this dualism that is creation. And so in alchemy, we have three pillars. In Kabbalah, we have three pillars. In Egyptology, we have three primaries. In that case, it would be Geb, who is the god of the earth, which would then represent water and earth. We have Shu, who is the guy holding things up, right? And he's air and water. And then Nut, the goddess of the sky, and she represents air and fire. And so between those three, then we have the three alchemical units, right? That are salt, which is of course earth and water over here on the right. We have mercury in the center, which is air and water. And then over here on the left, we have sulfur, which is fire and air. Each one of these then combined, unified. This is the static, this is the active, this is the immovable object, this is the irresistible force. And in between the two is Mercury. It is the combination of the two. It represents elements of both, water and air, which give you everything that we have today in structure, but structured in an elemental presentation that can be more easily understood. All right, so today, World of Warcraft, we have had quite the adventure. We have started in the Tower of the Guardian, and we teleported ourselves to Mulgore and enjoyed the Cavern of the Magi there. And then from there, we flew to the Thousand Needles and explored the vast pillars and columns of the Thousand Needles. And from there, we moved into Feralis and flew between the titanic, you can see one right behind me, gigantic titanic trees, which then lead us to the temple here. And this temple is a presentation of all of the stuff that we've seen before. This is why a temple is a temple, because it represents a point in time and in space, representative of eternity, because it is always now. It is always present, always vibrating, always here. All right, I am Aubrey Forrest, the modern alchemist, and this has been Esoteric Schmackdown, World of Warcraft, where we have gone into the World of Warcraft to use it as a tool to help us better understand the electric universe. I will be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.